All right, so we have Jesse Geller. Welcome.
Thank you.
Our fourth year senior. Jesse's about to graduate. I can't believe it's been 4 years. This is insane. This is insane.
Me neither. It
Uh,
flew by.
Jesse, tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you get into track and field?
Yeah. I'm originally from New Jersey, and I have an older brother who's 4 years older than me who played football. And his senior year in high school, he was quarterback, and he said, "Why not do track?" He ended up throwing the javelin his senior year, and he ended up being pretty good for never practicing or doing anything before. So when I came in as a freshman in high school, I was kind of pestered by coaches at my school because I was a competitive AAU basketball player, and spring was prime season, and I wasn't going to do a spring sport in the high school because I was playing basketball. But they were like, "You got to do it. Just whatever time you have. Um, we like we think it runs in the family." So they totally thought that javelin runs is goes through the blood, and they were right. um, and Now looking back, we joke about it with my coaches, but thank God they came into my classes every day, would ask me to sign the permission slips to do the sport.
Mhm.
So that's how it all started. And I also had two of my high school coaches actually went to UVA. One did track; he was a shot put thrower, so just the love for UVA totally sparked from there.
What year were you when you started javelin?
I was a freshman in high school, so it was 2014.
Mhm. Did you play? You say you play basketball. Did you play tennis as well? You said.
Yeah, so in the fall, I played tennis. In the winter, I did basketball. And until the end of my freshman year in high school, I played AAU basketball in the spring.
Mm.
But then after that, I did track every year in the spring.
So for those athletes in high school right now who are doing multiple sports, what did you do in high school to kind of figure out what's your main sport and how to balance your time in high school like that?
Yeah, I think that was one of the toughest things. I actually had a realization. I think my whole life I thought I was going to play basketball in college. That was my like passion. I loved it. And I had a realization. I went to one of these Nike camps over the summer with my AAU team, and I had a realization that I'm not quite tall enough. I'm not as good as some of these other people. Maybe the best I could do is play at a D3 school. And that was kind of my realization that I have other opportunities that I need to focus and prioritize rather than that. So that's when I started really focusing on track and training in the off season. But I think that it's important that you do continue your other sports because I think if you're doing something all year round and only focusing on that, I feel like injuries are more likely to come. And I feel like just being a well-rounded athlete also just makes you a better teammate. And it also help. I mean, I think just my other sports help me with track. Um, it I had a really great high school experience with playing sports.
It's really good for college coaches as well to see when an athlete is doing multiple sports and doing them well and then doing it well in school as well. That's a big one that coaches are always looking for, and you did that pretty well. So that's why you got on our radar. But how do we get? You talked about it a little bit. How do we get on your radar, and why eventually UVA?
Yeah. So, biggest draw to me about UVA, like I said, I'm from New Jersey. Not a ton of people come here. I don't think anyone in my high school went in 6 years. I was the first in 6 years to go. But the biggest draw for me for UVA was definitely the balance of having that like raw aspect of athletics and like that high standard of academics. I really wanted a mix of the both. And it's the perfect combination. I say when I came on my when I visited UVA for the first time, it was kind of like that fairy tale experience where I just knew right away. Like I walked up to the rotunda and saw campus and I instantly fell in love. It's one of the most beautiful campuses in the entire country. I mean, hands down. But aside from that, it it's a big school, but it's made small. Um,
Mm.
it's not as big as you think it is, which is nice because for me, I wanted like a medium-sized school. I didn't want to go to somewhere with like 60,000 people. I thought that would be like too much for me. So UVA was just the perfect size, and not too far away from home for me. So that was definitely a big appeal. But I love Charlottesville too.
So it's just close enough, but far enough from home.
Exactly. I can drive, fly, take the train. I had options. My parents could come visit.
Yeah.
Um, so that was definitely a huge plus.
Well, we're happy as well that you eventually chose UVA and came here. You obviously are a good student and a good athlete. You were top nine at ACCs. You had some injuries, ups and downs, but you are a hard worker, right? Very competitive. The 2018 season, like I said, you had all six throws in the finals, but also you were on honor list every year, right? Almost every year.
Yeah.
And what's your major and why did you choose that major?
Yeah. So I'm studying finance and IT and doing a track in real estate in the Comm School. Um, I knew coming into UVA that I wanted to try to get into the Comm School. You actually don't apply until you're 2 years in, but you have to take all these prerequisites during your first 2 years before you apply. And what drew me to it is I love the math side of business, and I honestly just think generally business is everywhere. It sets you up um, in pretty much every career path you might want to go down. And UVA McIntyre is one of the most prestigious programs in the country. So just knowing how about the challenge is also part of what drew me to it, of getting in. I kind of wanted to prove to myself that I belonged here at UVA, and that was definitely one of like the biggest feats um,
Mm,
to accomplish, was getting in. So
mm.
yeah, I love the comp school.
Yeah. And I remember how excited you were to get in. And I remember a practice you told me, I didn't hear you the first time. You're like, oh, coach, I got in comm school. I'm like, so it took me a second. I'm like, what did you get? It's like, I got in comm school. I'm like, whoa, congrats. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
It's a really, really popular, hard to get in at UVA school. What advice would you give to so many student athletes to get ready to apply? What classes to take or internships? How did you get ready?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with comm is obviously you have to take these challenging prereqs like accounting, all of your econ classes, your stats and calculus. But I think the biggest thing is getting involved even just outside of school, like taking on leadership positions, and really just getting involved with the community, and becoming a person that's maybe not just an academic, but having just having a broader scope on other things, whether it's community service or clubs. I think that's really a big part of what they look for. They want someone who's well-rounded and not just someone who's studying a textbook all the time and for their classes. So I think that's really important.
Right. So, how, as an athlete, were you able to do all that and still, go to training and compete at competitions? What advice would you give with time management for that?
Yeah, time management is a huge, huge piece of it's a skill. Definitely worked over time. Definitely my first year, my time management was not as good as it is today.
Mm,
But I think having a schedule and like going by that schedule is really important. I would definitely say I lacked a lot of sleep my first couple of years, just based on poor time management. But I think that just talking and like having opening your voice and saying to people like, hey, I'm not able to make this day. People want to work with you. If you want to help and you want to volunteer or do something, they're more than happy to have your time. So I think a lot of it just came down to communication, and just showing you cared, and maybe doing some things on the side if you couldn't make certain things because of practice or meets. But for the most part, I think a lot of student athletes are involved in clubs and organizations across campus and have jobs. So it's definitely doable. You just, like we were saying, you just have to learn how to properly time out doing assignments ahead of time rather than last minute. And really, it's a game of getting ahead
Yeah.
before you fall behind.
That's a great advice. That's a great advice. Did you as a student use office hours with professors?
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of office hours. Even when we went into COVID times,
Mm.
I there were some professors I met with every single week during office hours. We didn't even have to like talk and sign up. It was just a known thing. I'd go at 4 o'clock every Monday. It was just, and it sometimes it wasn't even about class. It was just to talk about life, about like career paths and things
Yeah.
like that. So just developing those relationships with professors, I think here is some like a unique thing about the staff at UVA. Like professors really want to help you and they want to learn more about you and not just see you as a name a name in their class um, or on the screen. Um, they definitely want to help you and learn from you too.
That's really really a big tool to have is reaching out, right? Those office hours. That's a
Yeah,
great tool to have in your toolkit for succeeding in college. Like you said, reaching out to people saying like, "Hey, what can I do?" And with the professors, like, "Hey, I'm struggling. What can I
yeah,
do to make this assignment that I really want to do well in?"
yeah.
Well, right? So it's not like, hey, how can I pass this class? Like, hey, I want to do really well in this class. I'm struggling with time. What would you suggest I focus on?
Yeah, you can't be afraid to admit that you're struggling with something. The worst thing you can do is not do anything at all. So the best thing you can do is reach out and ask for help. That's the only way you're gonna get through it and do well, especially in college, because you fall behind really fast.
Yeah. And then being in Comm School, you have some tough classes at the same semester, so it's really really important to stay on top of those things. Like you
Yeah,
say, it catches up real quick. Now your third year, half of the fourth year was on Zoom. Some
yeah,
classes were in person, some were online. How was all that experience for those who will never experience, God willing, that in college, for those coming in, and those who haven't experienced that in the past? How was that experience for you on
yeah. So I went home to New Jersey and did my classes from there. I pretty much set up um, shop in my dining room,
yeah,
and that's where I did Zoom class every day.
yeah,
Definitely a little more distracting than being at school, to say the least. My parents were coming in and out of the room. I'd be
yeah,
taking exams, and it was there was a lot going on.
yeah,
But I think overall, I'm glad to see classes starting to go back in person. But I think UVA handled the Zoom school really well. I'd say for the most part, my classes are pretty much functioning as they normally would, just even with meeting with groups in like breakout rooms and like we were talking about with office hours, it's just through a screen now, and nothing's really changed.
Mhm.
So I think, yeah, UVA has done a really great job in terms of Zoom University.
Zoom University. Yeah, that's such a 2020 thing, right?
Oh
The
yeah,
new normal.
the new normal.
What a crazy year. Now during the regular year, which we
Yeah,
hopefully will have from now on and forever, how is a day of life in a student athlete like yourself? So, what describe as a normal day?
yeah. So for me now as a fourth year, my schedule's um, a little bit different than it was maybe my first year. I have class every day now, almost every day, Monday through Thursday.
Seniors are
From
good in making
yeah,
extra
no
difference.
more.
Let's say
Yeah,
first or second year. First or second year.
exactly. I have no more Friday class,
Yeah.
one class on Wednesdays, but I pretty much do. I like to load my schedule more morning heavy and just get it out of the way. So I wake up. I have class at 9:30. and go from 9:30 to like 1:45 most days. And after that, I have about an hour or two before we start practice. Um, and then after practice, we head over to lift. And then after that, it's pretty much eat dinner, do work, and go to sleep. That's pretty much a standard day in the life. At least now. It's been like that for the
Yeah.
past couple years.
Yeah. It's a lot. You guys take a lot of classes, take obviously training, recovery. I always, and remembering myself being a student athlete, I can't believe I went through all that. And then I see you guys as well. I'm like, I can't believe these guys, you guys are functioning well and doing really well with
Yeah,
all the course load and practices, and you still have to have time for family and friends, right? So
exactly.
it's
Yeah, that's
incredible.
a huge piece is keeping that in mind too. Um, you have to there's got to be a balance
Yeah.
between school, social life, seeing your family, talking to your family. I know I had to
Yeah.
keep in touch with my mom or she'd think I'm not alive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Why are you not calling?
yeah, yeah. God forbid I'm like taking a
Yeah.
test and I don't answer for like 2 hours and she thinks
Mm,
like
yeah.
the absolute worst.
There's no
But
reason. Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, it's definitely a balancing act that you learn over time. And you definitely have to make time for those things um, aside from sports and school, just because um, it's necessary to be a well-rounded,
Yes.
functioning. You need to have your you time and let yourself relax.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah. Learn from being a student athlete. How did that benefit you, being a student and athlete, or how did it burn in you? Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think being a student athlete is one of the like most unique experiences you can definitely have. I think especially going into the workplace, like post grad. Um, I think we already spoke about the time management aspect. Um, a lot of other people don't have to do that yet. But when you hit the real world, that's something that time management becomes a huge aspect of your life. I know that's going to be a big part of mine next year.
Mm.
And just being a student athlete um, was definitely a draw because they knew you could balance and juggle a lot of different things at one time. And they knew you were able to do well and succeed in them. So that was definitely a huge appeal. But I think also being a student athlete, um, it teaches you a lot about um, not only it teaches you a lot about like being part of a big group of people, especially with track. It's an individual sport, but being a part of the whole track team, we're talking like 90, 100 people. Um, having that community
Mm.
um, definitely helped me just knowing in the back of my head, like I always had these people who were my family. Like I call Kate Motz my
Yeah.
grandma. I was her granddaughter.
Yeah.
She was like 4 years older than me
Yeah.
when I came, and she totally helped me as well as a lot of others like
Yeah.
Carter, Jade, totally helped take me under their wing. So they helped like like pave the way.
Mm.
And just I genuinely think they helped make me like a better person
Mm.
um, just from knowing these people.
Yeah, no, it's really a unique, like you said, unique experience. And I know many of you guys, when companies call as a reference, right, and they ask about you guys, and one of the main things they ask is, how are they with in a team, right? So
Yeah,
whatever you do in life, you're gonna work with people, right?
exactly.
Very likely. There's only a few jobs
Yeah.
that you don't need to interact with people and groups of people and work with them on a project or whatever it might
Hmm.
be. So they're really interested in athletes, student athletes who are really good students, and they are athletes. They know that you had to work with a group of people,
Yeah.
that you had to learn from your upperclassmen, teach your lower classmen the ways.
Yeah.
So
Exactly. Yeah. You got
that's
to know
important.
how to communicate and how to work with others, even if you disagree on things. It's essential, like you said, to pretty much every job you're going to work in. You're not going to like everyone, or maybe you have different opinions or whatever. You have to know how to work things out, and think of a common, you're all working for the same thing, the common goal. And that's kind of like with our team, like we're all working towards the same goal. We all want to win the same
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Um, want that championship. But it's similar. Yeah, they go hand in hand in the real world and working with the team. I think it's helped me astronomically.
yeah. And I love seeing guys over the years, and you mentioned a couple of your teammates, how you guys grew, how you guys help each other along the way, and how you became, like you said, better people. And want it or not, you were in this together, like you said. And then it's not that you have to find a way, but you do. It's
Yeah,
you all came here to get a good degree, and like you said, help each other out, and then become a better version of yourself. And I really, really admire and envy you guys on being the teammates that you have. I always say this:
yeah,
you guys have incredible, friends. You for life. You build them up here.
yeah.
Really, really exceptional team. Not just because it's UVA. We recruit you guys, and you come for official visits, and you kind of find each other. Just the way you guys handled the COVID, but how you
Mhm.
go through that, it's much more important than what happens to you. And you guys really fall hard, and that's why no wonder you all of you, when you graduate, you already have a couple of jobs lined up for you, because they know you guys are tough. And talk to us a little bit about that, the life after track. Now you already have a job waiting for you.
Yeah, so next year I'm going to be working for I'm going to be doing investment banking at Wells Fargo in New York City. So I'm
Nice.
really excited about that and start pretty close to when I graduate. I start up in June,
Nice.
and the rest is history.
Yeah, yeah. There's not much time between being a student and working. And you did an internship with them as well, right?
Yeah, so I
Very
did
cool.
an internship with them this past summer in 2020. Um, and that was super helpful, and just getting to know more about the industry and learning more about that career path definitely made me realize like that's what I want to do
Yeah.
going forward when I graduated.
So, would you recommend to students, first year, second years, to do something like that, to do internship, to make sure that they really want to do that job?
Yeah, I think having the
They help
internship,
you make a decision. Yeah.
yeah, I think having the internship experience was definitely very, very helpful. I did internships all 4 year all 3 years
Yeah.
after my first, second, and third year. Um, and one kind of helped me lead to another. Like I dabbled in like three different areas and was able to figure out by the end that my third internship with Wells Fargo was that was really what I wanted to do. So I'd say that's definitely like really important, and definitely, and also makes you more marketable just as a going into the job force, just having some experience under your belt in the real world.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, listening to this, take good notes for Jesse just said, because she did it right. And most athletes, student athletes, end up doing something else when they graduate. 99.9% of athletes, student athletes, end up working. Only few of them go pro, and it's only in sports like football or basketball that really make some money out of other sports. But and that's what I keep telling you guys, and that's how when we recruit, we always ask, "What's your interest? Do you know the interest of what do you want to study? If you don't, that's fine. But it's really important. Your first, second, and third year. I mean, third year, you really have to know what you want to do. Those first 2 years to find what you like, what you think you can do once you graduate. Because look at this, 4 years, 5 years already passed. So time goes really quickly
Yeah,
before student college life is over, right?
yeah, it flies by in an instant.
So, well, thank you, Jesse, for that advice. So, in taking internships and making connections, very important during your college career. In terms of, I got one more question for you. So, in terms for athletes who are in high school now and they're doing track,
Yeah,
what would you suggest to them when looking for universities? What to look for?
yeah. I think when looking at schools, I think something that's really important is figuring out what figuring out what kind of school you're looking for. And what I mean by that is whether you have some kind of major in mind. Obviously, if some majors just don't exist at certain schools, if it's just liberal arts um, or not, that's definitely a big factor. But looking at the size of the school, whether you want really small, medium, or a large school, um, and then like another factor, distance from home. I definitely took
Yeah.
that into account.
Okay.
Um, you have to look at the coaching staff. Obviously, when you're coming for sports, you want to know who you're going to be working with. That was definitely a huge appeal to have you. And I think that it really comes down to you got to visit the school. You got to visit, go on the tours. I know it might seem like a lot to go on tours, but just starting earlier in high school, just to get a feel for different campuses, help me like compare. You're able to make a comparison between different schools because you can kind of listen to what everyone else tells you about the school, but you don't know it unless you go for yourself. You have to experience it. So, and if you're able to stay with someone that you know for a weekend or something, definitely recommend that to actually get a real experience at the school. That definitely that helped me just solidify that the UVA was the right place.
Very, very important. Visiting and getting the sense of it. Like you said, like you came to the campus and you visit other schools to know, because that's, again, time goes really quickly and it's such a waste of time to spend at the university
Yeah,
that you thought, like, oh my God, it looks good on paper. But then you visit it and, or you didn't visit, you went there. And then after first year, like, I don't know how I found myself
yeah,
here, right?
exactly, exactly.
Jesse, thank you so much. You gave us a lot of good advice. For all you guys listening, take good notes because Jesse gave some really, really good advice and time savers that will save you a lot of trouble and stress in college. So, Jesse, thank you so much. And thank you for being this part of this team. Like we talked about, I told you this so many times. I love that you are such a hard worker, that you go through obstacles and come back. You're never down for too long. You come back up and you're like, Coach, yeah, I need this much time, but when I come back, we're doing it. So you came back and forth. You were one of our best javelin throwers, obviously. Again, you did such an incredible job for us and making us coaches and your teammates better. You were great students and you're great teammates. So I cannot thank you enough for that, for these 4 years that you gave us. So thank you again, Jesse. And I will see you tomorrow or Monday.
Yeah, thank you so much, Coach. I really appreciate it.
Take care, Jesse. See you soon. See you soon.
See ya.